जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनातीरावनचारी। यामुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनातीरावनचारी। यामुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनातीरावनचारी। यामुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So we are good to go. Okay. So I'll show the notes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So thank you all of you. Welcome all of you for this study of Vedanta Syamantaka, and thank you for coming. So now this book, this work, Vedanta Syamantaka, most of us would not have heard of it, or we would not even know what's the contents of this book. We have never come across it. And Srila Prabhupada actually never refers to this book at all in all of his works. So when I did a search on Vedabase, so Srila Prabhupada is not referring to this book at all, Vedanta Syamantaka. And even our Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he refers at one place, in his Amneya Sutra, he refers to Vedanta Syamantaka. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati wanted to publish this book, but during his lifetime, he was not able to. So this work is actually not much known, and some of you who have heard about this would think that, or rather, because this word Vedanta comes here, generally this work is attributed to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. But actually, this was not written by Baladev Vidyabhushan. This was written by his spiritual master, his guru, Srila Radha-damodara Goswami. Okay, so before we will get into the subject matter of this book, it's quite interesting. So we'll get into that, but before that, I just wanted to, we should pay our obeisances and our respects to Srila Radha-damodara Goswami for giving us such a wonderful book, actually. So we'll be able to appreciate it more when we get into the contents of this book. And we'll also see that although this work is not directly referred to by Srila Prabhupada, the contents of this book has been used all over Srila Prabhupada's works. So the way we are going to study this book is, the framework will be Vedanta Syamantaka, but we'll be using lots of materials from Srila Prabhupada's works to explain what Vedanta Syamantaka actually speaks about. So before that, definitely we have to know who the author is. So you can follow the notes along with me. So the authorship of Vedanta Syamantaka has been under dispute for the last 2 centuries. So which means this work was written somewhere around 17th century. And soon after, 100 years later, people have been confused of who actually is the author. And there have been multiple reasons for that. There are totally 9 published work, which means not the manuscript, but devotees who have published over the last 200 years, who have published the book based on the manuscript. Only 2 of them have attributed it to Radha-damodara Goswami, while 6 of them credited it to Baladev Vidyabhushan in their respective editions. This happened in great part because the first publisher, Kalidas Nath, for reasons known better to him, decided to give Vidyabhushan's name as the author when he printed the text in 1886. He not only avoided justifying this claim, but also refrained from writing even a single line as front matter. And there have been authors who have made ridiculous claims that Baladev Vidyabhushan actually wrote this work in the name of his spiritual master, as Radha-damodara Goswami, because he wanted to attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So to please the spiritual master, he wrote this work on his name. Like that, there are several other comments also. Now, what exactly is the reason why this is attributed to Baladev Vidyabhushan by these publishers almost 152 years back is actually not known. My understanding is primarily because not much about Sri Radha-damodara Goswami is known to us. So, and because this word Vedanta comes, and by the time of 1886, Baladev Vidyabhushan had established himself as the Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya. So, whatever had this word Vedanta actually. think now it should come. Are you able to see? Okay. Yeah. So because Baldev Vidyabhushan had already established himself as the Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya. So whenever this Vedanta means Baldev Vidyabhushan, like that. But if you see, Baldev Vidyabhushan actually wrote several works, and he signed each of his works with his name, except Govinda Bhashya, Siddhanta Ratnam and Prameya Ratnavali, which are well known as his compositions only, and in whose commentaries Vedanta Vagisha directly mentions the name Baldev Vidyabhushan as the author. Now, these three works that Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan wrote, Prameya Ratnavali, Siddhanta Ratna and Govinda Bhashya. So Govinda Bhashya is the Vedanta Sutra commentary of Baldev Vidyabhushan, and Prameya Ratnavali and Siddhanta Ratnam are called as Vedanta Prakaranas. Technically speaking, they are called as Vedanta Prakaranas, which basically are introductions to the Vedanta Sutras. Okay, so these three form a trilogy of work. So one who wants to approach or one who wants to study the Vedanta Sutra commentary of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan has to approach it step by step. So first he studies Prameya Ratnavali, and then Siddhanta Ratnam, and then comes to Govinda Bhashya. So in all of these works, with Baldev Vidyabhushan, it's known that he only wrote this because this happened during the time of that conflict in Jaipur between the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the Ramanandis. So this work is very prominently known as Baldev Vidyabhushan's work. But other works, Baldev Vidyabhushan also wrote commentaries on Upanishads, and he also commented on the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami to some extent. And he commented on Laghu Bhagavatamrita of Rupa Goswami. So there are several commentaries which Baldev Vidyabhushan made, and each of these commentaries he mentions his name. But in Vedanta Syamantaka, Baldev Vidyabhushan actually never mentions his name, or it's not mentioned that it is written by Baldev Vidyabhushan at all. And factually speaking, this Vedanta Syamantaka was written by Radha-damodara Goswami, but then Baldev Vidyabhushan actually gave a gloss on it. Gloss means some technical stuffs are being explained by the commentator. So it's not a full-fledged commentary on the entire text, but some technical points which may be difficult to understand are actually commented upon by the disciple or by the associate of the person who wrote that work. So Baldev Vidyabhushan wrote a gloss on this. This is called as a gloss. He wrote a gloss on this, but actually he did not write this book at all. And the evidence, the solid evidence which is found, is directly in the manuscript itself of Vedanta Syamantaka. Because every single manuscript of Vedanta Syamantaka ends with the following verse: Radha-damodara nama bibharta viprena Vedanta maya Syamantaka Shri Radhikaye vinivedito maya tasya pramodam satanotu sarvada. This Syamantaka-like treatise on Vedanta is offered to Shri Radhika by me, a Brahmana named Radha-damodara. May it always give her joy. So it's very clear that he is the author. Now, we may think that why are we still discussing about the authorship and not getting into the subject matter? But it's like chastity. The work of an author must be attributed to him, especially the work of this magnitude, of this importance, Vedanta Syamantaka. And over a period of time, when different people attribute it to different author, it's actually disrespect to the person who wrote it, and it's an offense to some extent. So therefore, the establishment of the actual authorship of Vedanta Syamantaka is quite important, and it's required for us so that we understand that this work which has been given to us, we actually are obliged to Radha-damodara Goswami, and what he has contributed to our understanding of Gaudiya Vaishnava Vedanta. We will see when we get to the subject matter, we'll be able to appreciate it more, but he is the one who actually initiated this concept of Vedanta within our Sampradaya. So before that, although Vedantic philosophy has been explained in different manner by Sri Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas, by Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, by Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, so all those explanations have been there, but pinpointing the actual tattvas which has to be known was first started off in a very lucid and concise manner by Radha-damodara Goswami. So we have to know more about him. But unfortunately, as I said, we don't know much about him, but there are some details which we will discuss. So Sri Radha-damodara Goswami belonged to the 7th generation in the Gaudiya sibling succession. So from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then Gauridas Pandit, Hriday Chaitanya Thakur. So we have discussed these the pastimes of these great devotees in previous sessions before in ISKCON Salem. So Shyamananda Prabhu, then Rasikananda Murari, then his disciple is Nayanananda Goswami, and then comes Radha-damodara Goswami. So this is the lineage. So he is 7th generation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's hardly any available information about his life and contributions, but we can infer that he was born around the middle of the 17th century. From Vidyabhushan's invocation in the beginning of his commentary on the Chanda Kaustuba, it is clear that Radha-damodara Goswami was his guru. So of all the works which Radha-damodara Goswami wrote, we have only two left with us. One is Chanda Kaustuba and Vedanta Syamantaka. So we have only these two works. And in both this work, Baldev Vidyabhushan has commented upon it. So he writes, all glories to my Guru, Sri Radha-damodara, who worshipped Sri Nayanananda as his spiritual master. By his mercy, I am writing this commentary on the Chanda Kaustuba in a few words. And Vidyabhushan further clarifies. He says, the great poet named Radha-damodara is the crest jewel of the dynasties of Brahmanas from Kanyakubja. So Radha-damodara Goswami actually belonged to Kanyakubja. He is venerable to all those learned in prosody, and by serving the lotus feet of Sri Nayanananda, he obtained knowledge of the meaning of all scriptures. So the history, it goes that Baldev Vidyabhushan was actually born in Orissa. Then he, in a very young age, wanted to study Vedanta philosophy. So he came to Mysore, and he studied under the tutelage of Madhva scholars. And after studying, then he went back to Orissa, and there he met Radha-damodara Goswami, and he took Diksha from him. So Baldev Vidyabhushan had Shiksha Gurus. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was one of his prominent Shiksha Gurus, and other Shiksha Gurus also he took instructions from, knowledge from. But Radha-damodara Goswami is actually his Diksha Guru, who gave him his Mantra Diksha. And the concepts which Radha-damodara Goswami used in Vedanta Syamantaka, Baldev Vidyabhushan employs that in his Gita Bhushan commentary as well as in Govinda Bhasha commentary. So all these concepts are explained there. At the end of Siddhanta Ratnam, Vidyabhushan writes the following verse. All glories to the splendor of Sri Radha-damodara's lotus feet, which upon being seen suddenly gave me great joy. And Vedanta Vagisha explains this verse in the following words. So, Baldev Vidyabhushan had two associates. One was Vedanta Vagisha and another was Dayanidhi. So, Vedanta Vagisha was actually the disciple of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he was sent as an associate of Baldev Vidyabhushan when he went to Jaipur to face off with the Ramanandis. And Baldev Vidyabhushan's literary output, or when he started to compile all his work, Vedanta Vagisha was the one who used to comment or explain the works of Baldev Vidyabhushan. So he was one of the associates, and another one was Dayanidhi. So Dayanidhi was a scribe. So how it used to work is Baldev Vidyabhushan will dictate, just like Prabhupada dictated on the dictaphone, and then after that this was then typed by his disciples, then it was compiled into a book, and then that's how we have Srila Prabhupada's books. So similarly, Baldev Vidyabhushan used to dictate all his work, and Dayanidhi he was the scribe, so he used to write. And Vedanta Vagisha, he used to write some commentary on Baldev Vidyabhushan's work. So Vedanta Vagisha in Siddhanta Ratnam. So Siddhanta Ratnam was a work written by Vidyabhushan. So this is the system. Like even for Madhvacharya also, when he wrote commentaries on Vedanta Sutra, he wrote 4 commentaries, if I remember correctly. So these commentaries are very difficult to understand. Although they explain, or although they are very philosophically perfect, but it's very difficult for a normal disciple or a common student of Madhvacharya himself to understand. So Madhvacharya's disciples actually commented, or they wrote more elaborations on the Vedanta Sutra commentaries of Madhvacharya, and that is what is more prominent or popular. The case in point, one of them is Nyaya Sudha, which was written by Jayatirtha. So Nyaya Sudha is actually not a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, it's a commentary on the commentary of Madhvacharya's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So that is how it is. So this is the system. So an Acharya will give the details, or he will give the commentary, he will give his work, and then on top of that, it's the duty of the disciple or duty of the follower to expand and elaborate on such topics so that it's reachable to a wider audience. So So Baldev Vidyabhushan in Siddhanta Ratnam writes this, and Vedanta Vagisha then he explains Here at the end, the author presents an auspicious verse about the excellence of his mantra guru. Sri Radha-damodara, the author's mantra guru, is the crest jewel of the dynasties of Brahmanas from Kanyakubja, the greatest and foremost scholar. The splendor of his lotus feet is praised here. To elucidate his greatness, the author says, Sakrit, suddenly. The word modaha means the joy caused by understanding the Supreme, by being an object of mercy among the congregation of saints, and by being a member of the king's court. So, as a sincere disciple, Baldev Vidyabhushan attributes all of his success and all of his works to his spiritual master, Radha-damodara Goswami. So unfortunately, most of his works are lost, but we are fortunate that at least Vedanta Syamantaka is with us. Radha-damodara's great scholarship is self-evident in the Vedanta Syamantaka and Chanda Kaustuba, and also by the fact that he converted such a genius as Vidyabhushan into Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which in due course of time proved to be his greatest preaching achievement. So, Baldev Vidyabhushan, when we discuss about his life, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan's life, we understand that he studied Srimad Bhagavatam and all the intricacies of Gaudiya Vaishnava theology from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but the task of actually bringing Baldev Vidyabhushan into this Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara was achieved by Radha-damodara Goswami. Radha-damodara's great scholarship is self-evident in the Vedanta Syamantaka. We have read this. He spent the last portion of his life in Puri, Odisha, where he was appointed as the head priest of the Kunja Math, one of the temples belonging to the Shyamanandi line, and dedicated his life to worshipping the deities Sri Sri Radha Rasikarai and spreading the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. So this math still exists. So if we go to Puri, we can go to this math, Kunja Math, and the deities are still being worshipped by the descendants of Radha-damodara Goswami. So this is Sri Sri Radha Rasikarai. His samadhi is said to be located next to the temple, being described by Vidyabhushan as a great poet or wise man, and being renowned for his profound discourses on Jiva Goswami's 6 Sandarbhas. It is possible that Radha-damodara may have written treatises on different topics, but at present, Chanda Kaustuba and Vedanta Syamantaka are his only available works. So, it was known that Sri Radha-damodara Goswami studied the 6 Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami very deeply. And this also we can attribute to the fact that Radha-damodara Goswami's spiritual master, Nayanananda Goswami, his guru is Rasikananda, and then his spiritual master Shyamananda. And Shyamananda Pandit was trained personally by Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. So this is elaborated in Bhakti Ratnakar, where 3 disciples, or rather 3 devotees, they travelled from the eastern part of India to Vrindavan to study under Jiva Goswami. There is Shyamananda Pandit, there is Narottam Das Thakur, and there is one more. Srinivasa Acharya, correct. So Srinivasa Acharya, Shyamananda Pandit, and Narottam Das Thakur, they studied under him. So then Shyamananda Pandit came to Orissa, and from there he propagated the pure devotional concepts. And then in this disciplic succession, then Radha-damodara Goswami comes. So this 6 Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami was studied by Radha-damodara Goswami, and he under his tutelage, and he taught the Sandarbhas to Baldev Vidyabhushan, and it is understood that through his influence only Baldev Vidyabhushan actually wrote commentaries on at least we know the commentary exists on Tattva Sandarbha by Baldev Vidyabhushan. So this is a brief history. So we don't know much more about Radha-damodara Goswami. Most of it is actually lost. And one more acknowledgement which I would like to give here is to His Grace Baladev Prabhu. So you might know he's working on this Baldev Vidyabhushan project. He was Dr. Damien Martins, and he has been initiated as Baladev Prabhu, Baladev Das. So this book was compiled by him. This is a critical edition of that work. So he is traveling all over India, and he is compiling he's collecting the different manuscripts which have been lost or which have been forgotten over a period of time. So all Baldev Vidyabhushan's work and the works of our Gaudiya Vaishnava line, he's collecting them. He's collecting many manuscripts. He's making critical editions of this work. So this study that we are going to do is based on the book that he published, and the reason for that is because The text is the critical edition. So I think there are around 20 to 25 manuscripts of Vedanta Syamantaka which were found all over India, and there were so many incorrect renditions also at several places. So he tried, or he has found out the correct editions. He also found out the gloss of Baldev Vidyabhushan, which was very rare. So the manuscripts did not exist at different places, but somehow he found a gloss of Baldev Vidyabhushan at different places, 2-3 places, and then he has brought out this work. So what we are trying to do here is basically a very small attempt to make this work popular, and we will see how this is the driving factor of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy as presented by Srila Prabhupada. Right. So why are we studying this book? So here comes the essence. So Srila Prabhupada, this is from Introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada writes, the subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, Jiva. There is Ishvara, which means the controller, and there are Jivas, the living entities which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the Jivas, the controlled living entities, Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of existence of the whole universe or the manifestation of material nature, and karma, activity, are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. Okay, so we have read this introduction several times when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, and we know that there are these 5 things: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So this Vedanta Syamantaka actually has 6 chapters. First one is the description of different pramanas, Pratyaksha, Anuman, Shabda, and analysis of that. And rest of the 5 chapters are actually an explanation of these 5 principles. So the second chapter speaks about Ishvara. The third chapter speaks about Jiva. The fourth chapter speaks about Prakriti. The fifth chapter speaks about Kala, and the sixth chapter speaks about Karma. So these 5 are classified as the basis of our understanding of Vedanta according to Gaudiya Vaishnava line. And it's also, when Srila Prabhupada wrote his purports on Bhagavad Gita, he dedicated the book to Baldev Vidyabhushan, who presented the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in a very nice manner. Correct? In Bhagavad Gita, we can see the dedication there. So he's dedicating it to Baldev Vidyabhushan, who presented the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in a very nice manner. And in the introduction, he says that these are the 5 principles which have to be understood to understand Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And if we see all the other works of Jiva Goswamis, of Rupa Goswamis, and Baldev Vidyabhushan's, Pramey Ratnavali also, we will see as we go through this seminar, we will also see that Pramey Ratnavali also corresponds to these 5 factors. And in Siddhanta Ratnam also, Baldev Vidyabhushan explains on these 5 factors. His Gita Bhushan commentary is completely dependent on these 5 things. So these are the 5 things which he has elaborated upon. And his Govinda Bhashya commentary is basically a study of these 5 factors. And we also see these 5, we have Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So ultimate understanding of Vedanta is actually only these 5 factors. There is nothing else that has to be known. If one knows Ishvara, his characteristics, who he is, what is his nature, is he a person or is he impersonal, is it Brahman alone, is this Paramatma alone, is it Bhagavan alone, if one can understand the entire gamut of Vedic scriptures and categorize that as Ishvara, then we come to a proper understanding of Ishvara. So one who knows Ishvara, then he knows the other 4 also. So similarly for Jiva, one should know what the living entity is. Is he the material body? Is he a soul? Is he eternal? Is he temporary? Why is he conditioned with this material world? What happens when liberation happens? How to approach liberation? What is the relationship between Jiva and Ishvara? So one who knows this, the characteristics of Jiva, then he will have perfect knowledge about the living entity. Then there's Prakriti. The Jiva is bound. We are all bound within this material nature. So if we understand the workings of Prakriti, then we have perfect knowledge. Similarly, Kala. or the duration of existence of the whole universe, or the manifestation of material nature. If we understand this, then we have perfect knowledge. And karma, how a living entity is bound by karma, who controls karma, and how karma acts under the influence of time, and how Ishvara can actually liberate the jiva from his karmic reactions. So beyond this, beyond these 5 principles, actually there is nothing else to know. That is why this is called as Vedanta. Veda Anta, the actual etymological meaning of Vedanta is what? Veda means knowledge, and Anta is the end of knowledge or conclusion of all knowledge. So one who knows all these 5 principles, he comes to the end of knowledge. That is Vedanta. That is the proper understanding. Now if we correspond this to the modern world, what is happening around, people are working only on the basis of karma, or rather, sense gratification only. They have no understanding of who Ishvara is. They have no understanding of who Jiva is. They have no understanding of how time works. They say time starts and ends. What happened before that, what happened after that, no clue. And karma, they do not trust in. So they are working only in the realm of Prakriti, me and my interaction with this material world, and how I can enjoy myself, how I can do sense gratification and try to become happy. So this life is the only life I have. There is no rebirth. So there is no Ishvara who is in control. I am in control, and then I will do whatever I have to do, and I'll try to make myself happy. There is only one life, and I will not get another life. Right? We die. And after death, we do not know what happens. So this is not Vedanta. This is nonsense. Because Vedanta means understanding all these 5 things. We will also see, how the Advaitavadis or Mayavadis have a very corrupted understanding of all these aspects. They have a corrupted understanding about Ishvara, they have a corrupted understanding of Jiva, about karma, about Kala, and about Prakriti also. So because their understanding is totally corrupted, that is not the proper Vedanta system. To justify that, to substantiate that, we will have several references from Srila Prabhupada's work, so we'll go through them one by one. In a lecture, in a Pandal lecture at Cross Maidan in Mumbai, Srila Prabhupada speaks. So our Krishna conscious philosophy is that we have to work, but we should work for the best bargain. That is our philosophy, and that is taught in Bhagavad Gita. There are, according to Vedanta philosophy, there are 5 kinds of interest, or artha, panchartha. What is that? God. First of all, to know what is God. Next, to understand what is jiva, or the living entity. Then, what is this material nature, or what is that spiritual nature? Ishvara, jiva, prakriti. And then time. What is the time factor? Past, present and future. And then there is karma, activities. These 5 things, primary principles of philosophical speculation or philosophical understanding, are very clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara, jiva, prakriti, kala and activity. So, if we take Srila Prabhupada's works, we will find that all his purports are basically speaking only about these 5 things and the interactions between them. The philosophical concepts explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita are speaking only about these 5 things. In Srimad Bhagavatam, if we see in a holistic manner, all the 12 cantos, they are speaking only about these 5 things. And if you see Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, several places he mentions that Bhagavad Gita is actually a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So Vedanta Sutra can be understood through Bhagavad Gita, he says. And that is why he dedicated his Bhagavad Gita to Govinda Bhashya, to Baldev Vidyabhushan, who presented Govinda Bhashya. So when we study Bhagavad Gita, we are actually following the Vedanta philosophy. So although we do not technically classify it that way within our mind or while we are preaching, but whatever we do in our Krishna consciousness movement or whatever the practices that we follow in devotional life, this has the basis on Vedanta philosophy. So each and every day, the activities that we do, getting up for Mangalarti, then attending Mangalarti, then chanting our rounds, then getting Guru Puja, studying Srila Prabhupada's book, doing service, everything is based on Vedanta philosophy. So although the book that we are going to discuss is a bit technical in nature, because there will be so many references that we have, that Srila Radha-damodara Goswami has given from Upanishads, from different Smritis, scriptures and all, but the practical application of this Vedanta philosophy is how we are supposed to lead our life and how most of us are leading our lives. That is pure devotion service. So Vedanta and pure devotion service are not actually divorced. They are married to each other. That's why we will see some references also. Srila Prabhupada very specifically quotes that bhakti is included in Vedanta, or bhakti and Vedanta is the proper understanding of Vedanta. So bhakti is not separated from Vedanta, and Vedanta cannot be separated from bhakti. So that is why for the first time in the Vaishnava line, I am given the title Bhakti Vedanta. Now other Mayavadis might think how Vedanta can be related to bhakti. But that is the mission of Srila Prabhupada, to establish that Vedanta philosophy means pure devotional service, and that is how it is to be understood. We will see several references. So is Vedanta study important or required? Now this question might come up because normally when we see that Vedanta study is specifically for the Brahmanas, sannyasis. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, when he was in Varanasi and Prakashananda Saraswati and all the other sannyasis were criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said sannyasi means he is supposed to study Upanishads and he is supposed to study Vedanta Sutra. That is for the sannyasis. For other varnas, for grihasthas and others, the Brahmana portion, the Samhita portion, and for Vanaprastha, the Aranyaka portion are applicable. But sannyasis are supposed to study Vedanta. But if we see here, there are no sannyasis here. So why do we have to study Vedanta? Is Vedanta study really that important for us to progress in devotion service? Because we, all of us here, have come because we want to perform pure devotion service. We are trying to perform pure devotion service. We want to progress towards Krishna consciousness. So is Vedanta study really important for that? So there are several references which Srila Prabhupada gives, or rather, I have taken several lessons from Srila Prabhupada's work to explain why it is required and why it is actually very important. So we should not neglect this Vedanta study. And even if you see Prabhupada's work again, if you see his Bhagavatam commentaries, his purports are not speaking about stories. You rarely find some stories that Prabhupada mentions in his purports. You'll always find philosophical concepts only. Most of the around 80 to 90% of his purports are speaking only about philosophy. And even when he's commenting on the pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations, philosophy is there. That is Vedanta philosophy. So Srila Prabhupada very much stressed Vedanta philosophy, but normally devotees also have this understanding that Vedanta is probably not required for us. And Srila Prabhupada does support that to some extent. So we will see, this is a very nice verse and purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is from Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 72. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Prakashananda Saraswati, and when Prakashananda Saraswati and the sannyasis ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why you are a sannyasi, but just like a bhavuka, you are chanting the holy name, you are chanting this mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, but you are not studying Vedanta philosophy. So why is that? The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies, he says, Murkha tumi tomar nahika Vedanta adhikar, Krishna mantra japas sada, ei mantra sar. You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. So, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, then what about us? How are we qualified? We are no way qualified that way. So, we are supposed to chant the holy name of the Lord. So, we will see what Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj comments in this connection. One can become perfectly successful in the mission of his life if he acts exactly according to the words he hears from the mouth of his spiritual master. This acceptance of the words of the spiritual master is called Shrauta Vakya, which indicates that the disciple must carry out the spiritual master's instruction without deviation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that the disciple must accept the words of his spiritual master as his life and soul. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here confirms this by saying that since his spiritual master ordered him only to chant the holy name of Krishna, he always chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra according to this direction. Krishna mantra japa sada, ei mantra sar. So, here Srila Prabhupada is saying that Vedanta study is actually not required. Krishna is the origin of everything. Therefore, when a person is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that his relationship with Krishna has been fully confirmed. Lacking Krishna consciousness, one is only partially related with Krishna and is therefore not in his constitutional position. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the spiritual master of the entire universe, he nevertheless took the position of a disciple in order to teach by example how a devotee should strictly follow the orders of a spiritual master in executing the duty of always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One who is very much attracted to the study of Vedanta philosophy must take lessons from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age, no one is actually competent to study Vedanta, and therefore it is better for that one chant the holy name of the Lord, which is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, as Krishna himself confirms in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedescha sarvair ahameva vedyo Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Only fools give up the service of the spiritual master and think themselves advanced in spiritual knowledge. In order to check such fools, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself presented the perfect example of how to be a disciple. A spiritual master knows very well how to engage each disciple in a particular duty, but if a disciple, thinking himself more advanced than his spiritual master, gives up his orders and acts independently, he checks his own spiritual progress. Every disciple must consider himself completely unaware of the signs of Krishna and must always be ready to carry out the orders of the spiritual master to become competent in Krishna consciousness. A disciple should always remain a fool before his spiritual master. Therefore, sometimes pseudo-spiritualists accept a spiritual master who is not even fit to become a disciple because they want to keep him under their control. This is useless for spiritual realization. Now this is Srila Prabhupada. Till now, he spoke how it is very important for us, for all aspiring devotees, to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his example, he is showing how instruction should be followed and how one should not indulge in Vedanta study. Now we will see. One who imperfectly knows Krishna consciousness cannot know Vedanta philosophy. A showy display of Vedanta study without Krishna consciousness is a feature of the external energy Maya. And as long as one is attracted by the inebrities of this ever-changing material energy, he deviates from devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. An actual follower of Vedanta philosophy is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, who is the greatest of the great and the maintainer of the entire universe. Unless one surpasses the field of activities in service to the limited, one cannot reach the unlimited. Knowledge of the unlimited is actually Brahma Gyan, or knowledge of the Supreme. Those who are addicted to fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot understand the value of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which is always completely pure, eternally liberated, and full of spiritual bliss. One who has taken shelter of the holy name of the Lord, which is identical with the Lord, does not have to study Vedanta philosophy, for he has already completed all such study. So, quite discouraging that if we have full faith in the holy names of the Lord, we don't really have to study the Vedanta philosophy. Correct? One who is unfit to chant the holy name of Krishna but thinks that the holy name is different from Krishna and thus takes shelter of Vedanta study in order to understand him must be considered a number one fool, as confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his personal behavior. And philosophical speculators who want to make Vedanta philosophy an academic career are also considered to be within the material energy. So this is basically showing how not to study Vedanta philosophy. A person who always chants the holy name of the Lord, however, is already beyond the ocean of nescience, and thus even a person born in the low family who engages in chanting the holy name of the Lord is considered to be beyond the study of Vedanta philosophy. So see, paragraph after paragraph, Prabhupada is actually saying that we don't have to study Vedanta philosophy. In this connection, Srimad Bhagavatam states, Ahopata shvapachato gariyan yahjivagre vartate namatubhyam tepustapaste juhvu sasnur arya brahmanuchur nama grinanti yete. If a person born in a family of dog-eaters takes to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, it is to be understood that in his previous life he must have executed all kinds of austerities and penances and performed all the Vedic yajnas. Another quotation states, Rigvedo thayajurvedah samavedo pyatharvanaha adhitas tena yenoktam harir ityaksharam dvayam. A person who chants the two syllables Hari has already studied the four Vedas, Sama, Rig, Yajur and Atharva. Okay, so till this point, Srila Prabhupada is actually not encouraging us to study or to understand Vedanta philosophy in its actual essence. See, there are two ways. Srila Prabhupada, when he presents his purports, although he presents everything which is present in Vedanta philosophy, he actually does not classify them as Vedanta philosophy. So when he is speaking about the nature of Ishvara, his personal qualities, his pastimes, the glories of his name, and other things, is actually speaking the Vedanta philosophy, but actually he is not classifying it as Vedanta, or he is not classifying. He gives references from different scriptures, from Puranas and Upanishads like that, but he is not classifying it as Vedanta. But And similarly, for other aspects also, for Jiva, for Prakriti also. For Prakriti, if we see in the second canto, in the third canto, so much elaboration is given. But you will not find in the purports that Srila Prabhupada gives that, according to Vedanta philosophy, according to this, according to that, Vedanta Sutra says like this. So he does not comment like that. But then he gives the essence of what the proper understanding of Vedanta philosophy is. So that's one thing. But when we are studying Vedanta Syamantaka, we are actually getting into the technical aspects of the actual Vedanta study. So we may not be studying the Vedanta Sutras here, but the references which are used to comment upon Vedanta Sutras are present in Vedanta Syamantaka. So that is why, in the framework of this Vedanta Syamantaka, we will actually be studying Srila Prabhupada's book. So Srila Prabhupada's works will be the important aspect of this entire study. So we'll be reading lots of references from Srila Prabhupada and how they align very nicely with all the concepts and the explanations which are given in Vedanta Syamantaka for each of these 5 aspects. So till now, Srila Prabhupada has not made this point to actually study Vedanta philosophy. Now we will see this. Taking advantage of these verses, there are some Sahajiyas who, taking everything very cheaply, consider themselves elevated Vaishnavas, but do not care even to touch the Vedanta Sutra or Vedanta philosophy. A real Vaishnava, however, should, however, study Vedanta philosophy. But if after studying Vedanta, one does not adopt the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he is no better than a Mayavadi. Therefore, one should not be a Mayavadi, yet one should not be unaware of the subject matter of Vedanta philosophy. So although he wrote several paragraphs saying that the holy names of the Lord is enough, but one should also not be unaware of the subject matter of Vedanta philosophy. And he says, indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his knowledge of Vedanta in his discourses with Prakashananda Saraswati. Thus, it is to be understood that a Vaishnava should be completely conversant with Vedanta philosophy, yet he should not think that studying Vedanta is all in all, and therefore be unattached to the chanting of the holy name. A devotee must know the importance of simultaneously understanding Vedanta philosophy and chanting the holy names. If by studying Vedanta one becomes an impersonalist, he has not been able to study, he will not be able to understand Vedanta. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedanta means the end of knowledge. The ultimate end of knowledge is knowledge of Krishna, who is identical with his holy name. Cheap Vaishnavas, Sahajiyas, do not care to study the Vedanta philosophy as commented upon by the 4 Acharyas. In the Gaudiya Sampradaya, there is a Vedanta commentary called the Govinda Bhashya, but the Sahajiyas consider such commentaries to be untouchable philosophical speculation, and they consider the Acharyas to be mixed devotees. Thus they clear their way to hell. So, Vedanta philosophy must be studied, or it should be studied, as Prabhupada writes here, because proper understanding is required. And this jingle is there in ISKCON, right? That without philosophy, religion is sentimentalism, and without religion, philosophy is mental speculation. So both are required. We should have philosophy also as well as religion. So it is bhakti plus Vedanta. One who does only bhakti but is not eager to study the Vedanta philosophy, is not eager to understand about the Lord, about our position, about how the material nature works, he will not be able to liberate himself. His bhakti will only be mere sentiment. But one who understands, or rather, on the other hand, one who studies only Vedanta philosophy, all different kinds of Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, getting too much into Tarka and all, but is not inclined towards devotional service, does not want to perform a devotional service, and is only taking pleasure in doing all these different kinds of speculation and trying to understand Shastra and Vedanta in that way, he will also not be able to accomplish the goal of life. So he also does not go anywhere. So mere bhakti without Vedantic understanding is mere sentimentalism, and without bhakti, just studying the Vedanta philosophy is also completely useful. One becomes a Mayavadi. So one who is taking up the aspects, Sahajiyas who take up the aspects of devotional service but do not have proper understanding of Vedanta, they'll fall down and become a karmi. They'll try to justify all their karmic activities or their illicit activities in the name of bhakti. So they become karmis, and those who do not do devotional service, only do Vedantic study, they become impersonalist. So these are the two extremes. Either one becomes a total out and out karmi, a sahajiya, gets engaged in all kinds of illicit activities, which the outside people also do. So this bhakti has actually no fruit. And those Vedantists who only study the Vedanta philosophy but are not engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord or do not perform devotional service, they also become impersonalists. And impersonalists ultimately fall down. So when we are talking about Vedanta Syamantaka, we are not going to focus only on the Vedantic aspects. The framework is such, but through this framework, our idea is to make progress in devotional service, to understand the knowledge and to have references so that we can defend ourselves from outside elements. So whenever we go for preaching, there are so many questions that come up. And Srila Prabhupada's works, if you see Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, he is speaking about Mayavadis left, right and center. But then if we go out and face the real Mayavadi, a real Advaitavadi, do we have the tools to defend ourselves? No, it's a question that we have to ask. It's not required for everybody, but then there are some devotees who are required, who have this understanding of Vedanta philosophy, who have grasp of these different aspects of different the understanding of the actual Upanishadic statements and how they are supposed to be understood properly. One should have that understanding, and then he can go and preach to these people. It's said about Nityananda Prabhu that there is Prema Prachalan as well as Pashanda Dalan. Correct? So Prema Prachalan means devotional service. No, those who are innocent, those who are say only karmis, they only engage sense gratification, we can try to push them and take up devotional service. But at the same time, we also ask them to read Srila Prabhupada's book, which are an exposition of the Vedanta philosophy. So that goes on. But then there is also this Pashanda Dalan. We will not have time now, we have to stop, it's already 8:55. But tomorrow we will discuss the modern scenario, although we may not find many people, all these Brahmanas or scholars who are totally into Vedanta philosophy, but the entire world is actually pervaded by impersonalism only. It's only Mayavad and Shunyavad, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarya. When Prabhupada wrote, or Prabhupada gave this pranam mantra about himself, that he is delivering the Western world from Nirvishesha and Shunyavad, then our understanding is that not only those so-called Mayavadi philosophers who are sitting in the corners of India in one of the mutts and doing their Vedantic study, he is not talking about them. Those kind of people are not there in the Western world. In the Western world, they are also influenced by Mayavad and Shunyavad. And because we in India are also aping the Western culture, most of the people in India also are actually influenced by this Mayavad and Shunyavad. So our study is basically meant to give us those tools so that we can defend ourselves, we can defeat those Mayavadi philosophies. And actually the purpose is to completely uproot this Advaita philosophy. This impersonalism which is being spread in the form of Hinduism should be completely removed. That's the goal of this study. So when I read this book, my understanding was, or the goal of this presentation itself was to study Srila Prabhupada's books based on this framework and to present the understanding that Vedantic understanding actually means that the Lord and the Jiva are separate. They are connected, but they are two different individuals. And Advaitavad is actually not supported by any of the Vedantic literatures. It's not supported in Upanishads, it's not supported in Vedanta Sutra also. And all the explanations that all the Advaitavadis give are actually mere words. Although we don't like words, but they are mere words. They are just convoluting words so that they can twist the meaning of Vedanta. So through this study, we are going to learn what Vedanta actually means, and the references which Radha-damodara Goswami gives are specifically from all types of Upanishads, different Upanishads and different Puranas. So it's going to be an interesting study. It's technical, I understand, but then we will study with the help of Srila Prabhupada's books. So we'll stop here. It's already quite late. I don't think we'll be able to take questions. If you have any questions, then please make a note of it. At the start of class tomorrow, we'll be able to discuss that, and then we'll continue with our study. Okay. So thank you so much. So Srila Radha-damodara Goswami ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.